I'd like to call to order the meeting of the King George County School Board. Let's stand for the pledge, and then we'll remain standing for a moment of silence, or you may kneel. And we're going to be led by the couple of people from the King George County High School.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, let's hear a little bit about some of the people that led us in the pledge.
Hello, I'm Anijah James.
Okay. All right, and you're athletes, I understand. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
I do track and field. My events are the 55 hurdles, long jump, and relays for indoor. And I won states for long jump.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Well done.
It was pretty competitive. I came through with my last jump. And I did okay with the 55 hurdles.
So what was the long jump? How far did you go?
18 feet, 3 inches.
Well done. Well done.
Amazing.
Good job.
Awesome. Very good.
Yeah, well done.
I'm Aiden, and I was a second in the state for wrestling.
Right. Andy,
Awesome.
well done. Well, we're glad that you're here, and thank you for joining us today. Anything special that you'd like to give as with your fellow students, maybe at the high school, about how to be successful?
Just if you aim for a goal and you work hard for the goal, you are most likely going to reach the goal. So just set a good goal for yourself. Make sure that you're doing what you need to do, and try to be great.
Thank you.
I mean, really, I just think, like, basically, backing off what you said, I mean, just trust in the process, I guess. So just go along with it, I guess.
Good. Well, good job. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, now we have a recognition from the Lions Club Peace Poster Contest.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting us.
Sure.
The Dahlgren Lions Peace Poster Contest is an international contest that encourages children ages 11 through 13 to creatively express what peace means to them. The 2022 and 2023 theme is Lead with Compassion. The Dahlgren Lions Club believes that this contest allows students to express and share their unique images of peace so that we may create memories that will last a lifetime. So as hopefully they're all here because I don't really know what they look like, but anyway, I'm going to present them. Well, do you have Carly DeSantis's poster?
She's right here.
But I don't think that's her poster. Yeah. There's her poster. There's her poster. And I'm going to give you your poster back. And this is, you received a check for $25 and certificate of achievement. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Good, thank you. Why don't you come and stand up here? Yeah, why don't you go ahead and stand up here, and we'll have the other couple and we'll get a picture.
Okay. And the second one is Madison Clark. She is not here, but I believe that is her poster. So I probably will give this to.
Okay.
Sure. The third one is Jaylene Brown. I'm going to congratulate, and I have a little speech about her because she's pretty neat. The Dahlgren Lions Club Achievement Award and a $75 check is presented to Jayla Brown. Her poster went to the Lions Club District and has won first place and a $100 check. From there, her poster will go on to an international contest where the winner receives a trip a trip and an award ceremony, trip to the award ceremony, and a $5,000 check.
Ooh,
And then she also has a chance of winning a merit 20, there's one
Wow.
of 23 merit awards, which is a $500 check.
Is she here? She's,
yes, right
oh,
there.
yeah.
Yay. I know.
Sure.
Will not get it back.
Okay. Why don't you stand up here with the other one?
Okay, I would also like to recognize King George Middle School art teachers, Miss Fallon and Miss Danner, with a certificate of appreciation and a small gift. And then we had Miss Hine. She was the PE teacher. I don't know if she's here. Is she here?
Here, yep.
This is really neat. She encouraged Jayla to join, to
Good.
get into this contest, so. Turn your picture on.
Thank you.
There's that.
Teachers, why don't you come on up and stand here with the students?
Okay, and that's it. So.
All right, let's get their picture. Yeah, why don't you hold on, so let the parents get a picture there. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Very well done. All right, do we have any public comments? Not, nothing online? All right, that sounds good. Any school board members, any changes to the agenda or additions that you want to make? Anybody? All right, well, let's go on with that. Consent agenda. We have the organizational minutes from January the 11th. And we'll take these one by one. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from January the 11th? Do we need to,
Can do them all at
we need to
once.
approve them, don't we?
Yes.
All right, let's just do them all together then. January the 11th, organizational meeting, again, January 11th, regular meeting, and then January 23rd, regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve all of those?
I move that we approve the January 11th organizational minutes and then the 11th regular meeting minutes, as well as the January 23rd regular meeting minutes.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes for all of the consent agenda for the minutes. All right, let's go to the action items. The school year 2024 school board budget approval. Dr. Boyd?
Yes, sir, Chairman Bush. We are at the point in the budget process following our work session that I need to request a formal approval of our school budget. And if I could point you to the agenda item in your packet. We did make the suggested changes that we discussed in our work session. The three changes were including the 9.9% increase in the Anthem Healthcare increase, increasing our starting salary to step one being $50,000, and then also adjusting our school board line item budget. Those changes have been made. I've also provided a handout for your school board line item budget. And I would recommend that we approve the King George County School fiscal year 24 budget presented on February 6, 2023, and amended on February 22nd, 2023.
Okay, do we have any discussion or any more by the board about any of this?
Yes, I just, after further consideration, I can't in good conscience vote for it as is with doing the healthcare as we did, because even if they gave us everything we asked for, I wouldn't want to spend the money that way. I would not want to just give all that money to the people getting healthcare. I'd rather split up the way that I proposed, just per the current cost share, and then whatever money we save, we would reimburse that to all the employees. So, I mean, if there was an amendment to that, I would do that. But otherwise, because if they approve it, then I'm not going to, come back and say, well, I don't approve the budget that we already approved. That's my concern.
Any other comments about that? So what you're saying, Mr. Rolls, is that you would still like us to delve into looking at the healthcare, because I'm not sure we could really do anything with that this year. We talked about next year.
Well, I meant as far as how we're going to pay for the 9.9% increase, not change.
I see. Okay. So the way in which we're going to pay for the 9.9% increase, which we had that discussion last time, but you wanted to discuss it more. Was that what you were saying?
Well, I mean, the will of the board, you can go for it, but I can't personally vote for it
Okay.
as is. And I also just think we're saying, well, it's maybe more than what we have to ask for, but we're going to just ask for that just because they're going to probably cut us anyways. And I just don't think that's necessarily the kind of, collaborative spirit that I want to establish. Just
All right. I appreciate your opinion on that. Dr. Boyd, did you have anything that you wanted to say about what Mr. Rolls was talking about?
I can certainly work at the pleasure of the board. I mean, if there's any amendments that the board in whole want to suggest at this point, we do have the presentation on this Thursday.
Yes.
So time is of the essence, but I'm certainly here to work at the will of the board.
All right. Well, thank you. Okay. I think we've had this discussion. Oh, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
I'd like to respond to Mr. Rolls. Oh, thank you. It's on. It's on.
Just far away. That's all.
I'd like to respond to Mr. Rolls' comment, and I'm sure he didn't mean it the way perhaps some heard it, but our discussions about the budget have been very specific and have not been, well, let's just ask for more money because we want it. We have heard from numerous educators, parents, administrators, bus drivers, custodians, students especially, about their needs, and their needs are very specific and very definite. We don't ask for money without a specific need for it, and I'd like to make that very clear to both the Board of Supervisors and the public.
All right. Thank you. Any more discussion? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the 2023 amended, the budget that was presented on February the 6th, 2023 and amended on February 22nd, 2023? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the King George County Schools FY24 budget presented on February 6th, 2023 and amended on February 22nd, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. All those opposed, say nay.
okay.
Okay, mark 2 nay and 3 in favor. Okay, all right. All right, let's move on. We have the discussion items on the 2023 VSBA Business Honor Roll.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Annually, the Virginia School Board Association recognizes local businesses for their support in helping local school divisions. Each year, up to 3 names can be submitted for recognition with the approval of a resolution by the school board. After soliciting suggestions from our schools, the following businesses are recommended for the VSBA Business Honor Roll recognition. Battle Creek Construction, Mr. Matt Calvin. Breedlove Masonry, Mr. Ricky Breedlove. And King George Farmers Market, Agostino Caladiera. Potomac Elementary School would like to recognize Battle Creek Construction, Mr. Matt Calvin, for support in our efforts to install a new digital sign. Mr. Calvin has volunteered his time to serve as contractor for the project. He's also coordinating all aspects of the job. Mr. Calvin has participated in many meetings to develop a plan and offered resources to move the project forward. We are excited to finally be moving forward on the project that has been on the Potomac Elementary School's wish list for a few years. Potomac Elementary School would also like to recognize Breedlove Masonry, Mr. Ricky Breedlove, for donating all of the bricks and the labor needed for the base of our new digital sign. In the early stages, Mr. Breedlove did not hesitate to extend a helping hand to us. His generosity is greatly appreciated. And finally, King George Middle School would like to recognize the King George Farmers Market, Agostino Caladiera, for their generous donation of $2,500 that will be used towards the purchase of new signage for King George Middle School. We appreciate our partnership with the farmers market and how they help make King George Middle School a place where our community is able to gather every Saturday from April through October. We look forward to the opening weekend of 2023, which is on April 29th. I approve the resolution as presented and to submit the aforementioned businesses, the names to the Virginia School Board Association for recognition.
Do we have any discussion before we take a vote on this? I think it would be good if we did this now. I don't think we need to wait unless anybody has a problem. All right, so do I have a motion to approve the, I need my glasses. The resolution is presented and submitted to the aforementioned names, and we'll have to sign something if it's approved. Do I have a motion to approve that?
I move to approve the resolution as presented and to submit the aforementioned businesses' names to VSBA.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. So before we leave, Ms. Rinko has something for us to sign, so let's remember to do that. Or I guess we could do it now. All right, next we have on the agenda to talk about the superintendent evaluation process. Dr. Boyd and I attended the VSBA superintendent evaluation process on February the 28th. And it was very well done. There was I'll sign this in a minute. Dr. Michael Thornton was the one who presented, and he did a very good job. And we talked about the 5 areas that he covered that day were the role of the school board, the role of the superintendent, school board relations, purpose of the evaluation, and overview of the evaluation. I won't go through everything that I have here in my notes. I'm welcome to look at all of my notes if anybody who would like to. I can tell you that he really emphasized the 8 standards that need to be involved in the superintendent's evaluation. And one thing that stood out to both Dr. Boyd and myself was the recommendation that the superintendent do a portfolio with the bullet items rather than trying to write a narrative. And Dr. Boyd agreed that that might be a good idea. And Ms. Gonzalez, I know you and I spoke briefly about this before because you attended also some training about superintendent's evaluation. And after the meeting, if we can, let you and I get together to find a time when we can meet and talk further. And I would love for you to even take the lead in doing this since you did it last year. I think that'd be great. But let's spend some time and I'll share some of this and then we can move forward with that.
Sounds good.
All right, good. Okay, next on the discussion agenda is the purchase of floor scrubbing machines.
Yes, this is not as exciting as my last agenda item. So there's a need for 4 new scrubbing machines that are, the money is actually in the current operating budget. The machines that need to be replaced are at King George Middle School, King George High School, King George Elementary School, and Sealston Elementary School. These machines are 15 years old and they have exceeded their life expectancy and as such need a lot of parts and labor to continue to repair. So my recommendation this evening is to approve the replacement of 4 scrubber machines at the cost not to exceed $80,000.
Any discussion or questions for Dr. Boyd?
Yes, I have one.
Go ahead, Mr. Rolls.
Curious, Dr. Boyer, it's already accounted for in the current year's budget. So was this about some sort of spending threshold that triggered the requirement for a board decision? Just wondering what.
I believe in the budget it was $75,000 that was approved in the last operating budget.
Okay.
Cost just like everything else have gone up. So the excess of $5,000.
Okay.
Other discussions? I just had a question, I guess. Was this expected that this was going to happen this year? I mean, were they last year, did they pretty much say we're going to have to replace them next year?
Yeah, this money is in the operating budget. So we made this plan probably about a year ago now. And we're working to the point to replace them. And with, you know, the assembly lines and things the way they are, we're at the point now where we're ready to pull the trigger.
So are they totally, I mean, do you need this to be done now? Are they totally worn out? Are they being used but ineffectively?
Yes, sir.
All right. If there's no problem with the board, I think it sounds like we should probably make this a vote right now. So do I have a motion to purchase the floor scrubber?
I move that
machines?
we approve the replacement of the 4 floor scrubber machines as presented.
not to exceed 80,000.
Second.
Right.
Seconded by Ms. Haug. Any other discussion or anything? All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. It passes unanimously. All right, next item on the agenda is the ad hoc committee policy recommendations. This is quite a series of them, and I've asked Dr. Boyd if you could give a little bit of explanation for this idea of a regulation and why some were written as being just references and so on. So if you could do that for us, Dr. Boyd.
Yes, Chairman Bush. So we have reinstituted an ad hoc committee policy group at the school board office. We're taking a look pretty systematically at different policies that we have in our policy manual that either need to be updated, reviewed, or even you'll notice in some of these on the discussion items for tonight are very small edits that need to be made. So I can certainly walk everybody through what the recommendations are from the ad hoc committee after this first session that we've had. And as I said, we'll continue to review policies throughout the policy manual, make sure that our policies are up to date, make sure that we have the correct copyright dates on those policies, and our regulation is in line with the policy. So we'll continue to do that as we go. But as we jump right in, taking a look at the first one, it's GBR. And what the committee has done is if you look above the policy in your board packet, you'll see in a box what needs to be done or what has been done to that particular policy. So the first one, regulation GBR needs to be deleted because it is now incorporated into policy GB. And this was actually a policy we just looked at. This has to do with our compliance officers. And I'll just continue to go through, and if anyone wants me to stop, I can certainly stop.
Okay, yeah, any questions about that before we go on? So basically what you're saying in that one is the actual reference is just there as a reference because the only change is the regulation, right?
Yeah, the policy GB is only in there for reference. Regulation GBR needs to be removed because it's no longer needed because that information is in policy GB.
Got it.
Okay, the next one is GCBC-R, staff fringe benefits leave schedule. If you turn to page 3 of that policy, you will simply see a line drawn through the 0 next to the line that says 245-day contract. That 0 does not need to be in there at all. So the only edit there is that 0 being removed.
I have to say I didn't quite understand that because we have 0 for the other dates. Why do we just have a blank there, whereas 0 for the other ones that are 0?
That everything below it goes with that 245-day contract. Folks with 245-day contracts follow the series below it, the 0 to 6 months. So that 0 next to 245 does not need to be there.
Okay, I see.
All right, continuing through, we are in need of the deletion for the regulation of IHA because many moons ago, I think before I was here, policy IHA was previously deleted, but the regulation was not. So we do need to delete that regulation now. Then I move to JB-R. Regulation needs to be updated to reflect the same language in policy GB. So if you turn to page 3 and you see letter E there, you'll see everything that has been stricken. And then below, everything that's underlined will replace the language that has been stricken to match policy GB.
Can I have one comment on that one? Just a nit at the top. Equal educational opportunities should be opportunities. Name of the
Let's see.
policy.
Where is it at?
The name of the policy, the JBR.
Oh, yeah, I see
That's all.
on the title. Okay, thank you.
I kind of like opportunities, but I don't think that's what the word is supposed to be.
We'll make that change. And then again, GB is in there just for reference because the last change referenced policy GB. The next one up is the deletion of regulation JBA-R. This is incorporated in policy JBA, so again, the regulation is not needed. Policy JBA follows that just for reference.
Yes.
Slow down just a little.
Okay, no problem.
All right, everybody, I'm sorry. I'm just a little slow.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Now I'm on regulation JEC-R. JEC-R is school admission. And then the correction was missed when the policy was updated on page 3. I believe it's highlighted. And this is simply, if you look at the first full paragraph on that page 3, and you move 3 lines up from the bottom, the word "in" is in there after reviewed. That should be stricken. And it should just read, admission shall be reviewed as provided in policy JEC school admission. You turn the page, you'll see policy KNAK, which is the School Resource Officer Program. The request is to delete this policy because it is now incorporated in policy KNAJ. And again, KNAJ is the relations with law enforcement authorities, and that is for reference only, and it follows that policy. And then finally, KNAK-R, we request the deletion of KNAK-R. This is actually the MOU between the school division and the sheriff's department, and it was put in the policy manual in error, and the MOU does not need to be in there. And I think that's all of the recommendations from the ad hoc policy committee. Thank you,
Oh, and
Mr. Chair.
on this last one, you're saying that the MOU does not need to be part of the policy, but it's in here by error. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, we keep all MOUs on file, but we typically do not have MOUs in the
okay,
policy
that makes
manual.
sense.
So this one, some time ago, was put in by mistake, and it should be removed now.
Any questions about any of these?
We heard they were on fire. That's why we were chuckling down here. Sorry.
Any questions about any of these? All right,
Just any
go
reason
ahead.
why we
Yes.
could just pass all these tonight? It seems like pretty minor stuff.
well, that's exactly what I was
Okay.
thinking. Yeah, if there's no objection, can we have a motion, or let me ask first if there's any objection to put all these together and possibly pass them tonight? Any? All right, yeah, let me do a motion. Can I have a motion to, how would we state this? To pass all of the items that were presented by Dr. Boyd in the discussions as recommended?
I move that we approve the policy recommendations made by the ad hoc committee as presented.
Do I have a second? All right, all those in favor, discussion, sorry, any more discussion? I think we've already talked about it. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. They are all approved. All right, next, committee reports. I think it's the fastest we've ever gotten to committee reports. So we'll, let me see, we'll start down at this end, committee reports. Ms. Hoover,
I have none.
Mr. Rolls,
This isn't strictly a committee report, but if there's no objection, I'll go ahead and tell about some training I just did this past weekend. I think get the best value for our training dollars if we come back and share what we learned with each other. So that sounds good. And then maybe I'll just get through it all, and then if anybody has any questions or comments afterwards, please go ahead, and we can either discuss now or just ask me later if it's something you want to talk about privately. So
Mr. Rolls, can I add, that might be more appropriate in your board comment?
well, I want to do it now so that it would, if anybody wanted to ask questions, they could. We wouldn't really do that during board comment at the end.
Seems if it was for discussion, it would be a good discussion item on an agenda.
yeah, I think Ms. Gonzalez may be right, maybe more appropriate during at the end rather than a committee report, because
All right, yeah, if no one wants to ask questions, it's fine.
Oh, well, we'll just, okay, well, I'll tell you what then, when you make the, your board comment at the end, why don't, we'll allow time if anybody wants to ask questions from the rest of the board. Would that be okay? Okay. So any other committee reports? Go ahead.
So Mr. Chair,
Alice?
yep, certainly. So I was delinquent in the last meeting. I failed to have my notes with me. So I attended a Title I Advisory Committee meeting on February 7th. So the committee reviewed each of the elementary schools' plans for the family involvement series this spring. So a number of great events coming up. So King George Elementary is going to be doing a Night of the Arts where they're going to have some of like the art department things on display, as well as a chorus event. So the chorus is going to have a concert at 5:30 on that day. Anyway, in conjunction with their Title I information session. So they'll have some classrooms set up with information about, I think, SOLs and some of their interventions, so the parents can and students can go around and ask questions, pick up summer resources in preparation for the summer break. And then that will be on March 31st, there you go, from 5 to 7 with the chorus performing at 5:30. So that sounds like a good event. Potomac is going to also be having a combined event with the art department as well, the Title I with the art at the end of April. I don't think I have a specific date for that. And then Sealston is still in planning mode, but aiming for March 30th. We reviewed the number of students that are identified for services across all of the schools. So that's across reading and math, as well as both. And then kind of just had a roundtable discussion about what the future program needs are, right, and what that means going forward. There was an announcement that the summer school program will be full days this year. It's offered from June 5th through the 23rd. And then kind of talked through the student selection process and the guidelines for how that program is implemented. And then at the end of the year, they put out a family survey to families that receive the Title I services. And so they like to review that with the committee and, get input and that sort of thing, and discuss, if you get more input, if you issue it with a QR code or if you send paper copies home. So they're really thinking outside the box to try to get the most feedback as possible. So we kind of went through that with small groups and provided some feedback. So just a bunch of good information. And that concludes my committee report that I should have had 2 weeks ago. So.
That's fine. Thank you. Ms. Hawk?
No.
And I also do not have one, although I'm looking forward to the first special ed meeting day after tomorrow at the Smoot Library. So that'll be good. All right, superintendent's report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity. I did want to share that this past weekend, our HR department hosted a job fair. I wanted to show you guys that picture of about 30 employees showed up on an early Saturday morning. And I think we had a very, very positive experience. We had 48 registered interviewees. 42 of them showed up and 5 requested an alternative date to interview. 16 showed up for an information session on how to gain initial licensure. So folks that may just be interested in teaching came. We filled a classroom with individuals that were interested in that. And at the job fair, we offered 4 positions, and 3 of those individuals accepted the job on the spot. And I think there will be more to come. So it was certainly a morning well spent. And it's just always enjoyable to see the folks that you see in that picture show up on a Saturday morning and set up the cafeteria and gymnasium at the middle school, and just had that intrinsic motivation to really want to make our school division that much better. It was very inspiring to spend my morning with that group of folks, making sure that we were doing everything we could to put our school division in the best position possible moving forward. So I thank everybody that attended. Ms. Yezerski and Ms. Michelle Gordon pulled it all together, and we had a lot of great folks there to do that wonderful work. So thank you guys. I do want to plug also that we've got the Family Resource Night this Wednesday. So for all special education students, parents of special education students at Smoot Library this Wednesday from 5 to 6, there'll be a Family Parent Resource Night. So that'll be a very good evening to go to if you're interested in those services. And then I also have to mention STEAM Night, which is this Thursday. If you are in town, you should be at STEAM Night. So 4:30, there's a free meal. You can come by and grab dinner. And then every STEAM Night I've ever been to has been a great experience for students and parents and families alike. So I would certainly encourage everybody to attend STEAM Night. And then one last thing, at the beginning of the school year, we started off the school year, I did a presentation on geese. And we talked about making sure that we found time to squawk and in other words, honk. And what that was a sign of praise for our teachers and for everyone that works in our school division. And through the help of Ms. Higgins and other folks in the school board office, we're hoping in the next week or so to roll out an initiative we have called Shower Our Staff with Compliments. So there'll be a Google Doc that will be pushed out. Is that right, Amanda? Yes, okay. And it'll be an opportunity for anyone in the community, students, board members, families, anyone in the community that has something nice to say about a teacher. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated. This is the time of school year, no matter what school division you're in and no matter where you're at, where spring break seems far off in the distant future when it's only about 4 days away now. So we really encourage everybody in the community to keep an eye open for that opportunity and take us up on it, because I know many, many teachers and staff members would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Boyd. And please pass on to your staff all the congratulations for all the hard work they did for the recruiting fair and for all these other things that are going on. It's a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Did you have no, I thought I heard somebody have a comment over there. Okay. Do I have a board comments now? And then, so we'll start over here.
First of all, I would like to congratulate and thank the student athletes who showed up tonight for the Pledge of Allegiance. It was great seeing them and hearing about their hard work. And of course, congratulate the Lions Club Art Contest winners. It was great to see their artwork as well. The other thing is Mr. Bush and I met with some staff at King George Middle School last week and had some great conversations again, and have gotten nothing but appreciation for showing up and talking to them and just listening to what they have to say. We have a visit coming up with the elementary school in a few weeks. We met with Mr. Monroe today. So getting a lot of positive comments and feedback from just listening to what's going on in the schools and some concerns. That's all.
Mr. Rolls, and yes, give opportunity for the board to ask questions after you present.
So this is a Noah Webster Educational Foundation Summit that I went to this past Friday and Saturday for school board members. It's a similar format to like the VSBA conference, for instance, where we have big sessions and then also some breakout sessions. Although I'll note it was at a significantly reduced price than what we would pay for the VSBA, for instance. And it was just, this one happened to be in Richmond. So first session was talking about school board powers and duties. And what I really liked about that, and it's near and dear to my heart, is you probably imagine, like I was talking about when we first take office here, we take an oath to the Virginia Constitution, the US Constitution, and you know, maybe we aren't quite as familiar with that as we would like to be. Just not something that we really take a lot of time to study often. But so this started out exactly like I would want them to. They started, okay, you're a school board member, here's the Virginia Constitution. Went through it and saw everything that applied to it. You know, I'd seen before in my own study, just local school boards, self-supervised local schools, which that's pretty vague. You know, it's supervised can be a lot of different things, different people. But so they went to a lot more detail, and then moving on to the Virginia Code. And we hear from the VSBA, which it's true, like, they have like the 3 things we do, and at a very high level that captures the vast majority of it. But they pointed to one section of the code that goes through this 10 different items, which is enlightening just to see that a little bit more expanded explanation of it. So now I have those references for anybody if you want to look and look further yourself. I will note that they recorded everything, at least in the main room. So if anyone becomes a School Board Member Alliance member after this, you'll have access to all those recordings, it's my understanding. So just moving on to the second one, that was the role of school board members versus the superintendent. That was presented by the person who I guess is now the highest ranking member in VDOE since the superintendent resigned last week. So this is the Assistant Superintendent of Public Instruction, Elizabeth Schultz, and she spoke on that topic. And it's very interesting because she was a 2-term board member at Fairfax, I believe it was, so a very big division. And then went on to be at the VDOE, it's the federal U.S. Department of Education, before going to this position. So lots of experience and advice to offer there. And then breakout I went to was First Amendment and Title IX issues. So First Amendment, that's been, both those things have been in the news a lot, right? I think Title IX has expanded quite a bit. Heard stuff from the Biden administration about expanding what the definition of what Title IX applies to. Probably most of us think of athletics for female athletics for that, but it's becoming more like sexual misconduct type things as well. So that was, it's only like a big job. So I need to come back and figure out who's doing that here. And I figured that out. That's Mrs. Fisher. So I appreciate all the work going on there. It's obviously a big job. And then there was one on data from Virginia SOL assessments. I didn't attend that one. The one I was going to attend was sharing norms and protocols, which would have been a good networking opportunity to talk to other boards. You know, there's obviously 132 divisions just to share information. We just did ours last year, so it would have been good to compare notes, but I ended up actually canceling that one because we're going to have a special visitor, we were told. So we went for that and found out that Governor Youngkin decided to stop by, which is kind of a treat. And he talked to us for a good while, but I think his message has been pretty consistent in education. So he said basically other things that you would expect. So I won't spend a lot of time on it, other than like he emphasized again that parents are the primary educator, the most important person in a child's education. We're here to come alongside them, but we can't do it without parents. That's the most important thing. Followed closely by instructors, as you point out, Dr. Boyd. He also raised some concerns about lowering the cut scores for the SOLs. He didn't mention COVID, but I imagine that was the reason for that, and wanted to raise standards up again. And looking at standards, something that's coming out, I think maybe next week, is the new history standards, and those will be out for public comment and review. And that'd be closely followed by new math curriculum standards. And last thing I'll mention that he talked about was the national NAP score, which I hadn't heard of before. I guess that stands for, you might know, the National Assessment of Educational. I've lost my spot there. Okay. And evidently for Virginia, the fourth grade scores for reading and math declined the most of any state in the nation. And so his thought there was that didn't necessarily show up in school accreditations as much as he would have liked, just to bring that to the folks' attention. So looking at school accreditation is something that they might be looking at more in the near future. So that was what he had to say. And then next one, the last few are kind of ones that I probably would never have expected to see at a VSBA conference. So that's kind of brings up the point that I think it's good to go to multiple sources so we get different perspectives and get as much insight into these things as we can. So this one was talking about policy development and oversight. So of course we get the VSBA policy service for $3,000 a year, which is a big help to us since we're a smaller division. We're not going to do all that ourselves, but then it probably makes them less likely to tell us about how to develop our own policy, which, as I've said before, it's important that we do some of our own custom policies to make sure that our policies isn't just a copy of the VSBA policy. It's policy that reflects the needs and concerns of King George specifically. So I got some good insight there, and heard about a group. They have a website, which I haven't fully delved into yet, but based on what they had to say, I think they have a lot of good stuff, resources there for us we can pick and choose amongst. It's restoringamericaneducation.org. And there, one of the things they have is some model policies that you can just use for free, and just take them, and if you like them, you can use them or tweak them as you see fit about different topics that maybe we're not seeing or getting from the VSBA. So I thought that was a nice resource just to have. And then, so the next day, Saturday, we talked about budgets, which obviously that's something we're talking about right now. And the really kind of unique approach they took there that I thought was excellent was their panel consisted of both a former Board of Supervisor member as well as a couple of school board members. So we got to see real time this kind of dynamic between those sometimes differing perspectives and the tension there. But it was good just to see both sides. Hearing the supervisor, they're obviously trying to balance everything, talking about having 64 cost centers in that particular county, where he was saying over 80% of the budget already went to the schools, and he had to use the paltry remaining 15% for the other 64 cost centers. Obviously that's a challenge for them. But then you're hearing the school board member who's saying, hey, we need all the stuff. Paying for stuff for the schools is probably the main mandate we have by law that we have to fulfill, and here's how you get all the money you can. But obviously those two things are in tension. So Yeah, so just thinking about that is the importance of just really trying to collaborate, because we're all, regardless of what board you sit on, we're all King George citizens and we care about this county. And we just have to balance out the priorities and do what's best for everybody. And then next one was talk about sexual content and curriculum in the school libraries. And got some good resources there as well, such as booklooks.org, that's book, LOOKS.org. You know, because people want to be aware of what's in libraries and you can't go and check every single book. So some of the stories you heard were school board members who they said, sure, that's not happening in my county, but then they started looking and they found out that not only they found a lot of the books that were of concern, they were books that had been there since like 2014. And it showed some pictures, I mean, some pretty upsetting stuff that, you know, we just kind of passed along, didn't look at much more. So that brought to mind, we passed the policy for VSBA that we had discussion about in December, that I think I made clear that I had some changes I would prefer to make that stronger, but we passed it just because it was better than nothing. And it was, we were required to have passed something by the end of the year. So after seeing this against some of the resources I saw there, I would like to come back to that at some point and try to strengthen that a little bit. Last one I mentioned, there was a talk, again, also probably not one that I would have expected to get at BSBA about social and emotional learning. And it was a panel of 2 professors who teach school counselors and also a social worker from California and a former school board member. So across the gamut of kind of folks in the school that would know about this sort of thing. And the 2 who taught school counselors were very much emphasized that they are advocates of SEL. I think, you know, it's been around for a long time. Primarily when they say that, they're talking about when it was first established, maybe more in the 90s. And it's more things that I would probably describe as emotional intelligence. You've probably all heard of that. Sorry, I always have my back to you, Ms. Hoover. But, you know, the book written by Daniel Goleman talking about that. And you see studies that talk about in the workplace, certainly there's a certain threshold of intellectual knowledge you need, book knowledge you need to get the job, and say be a lawyer or a doctor. But after that, what really differentiates people as far as how they excel is their emotional intelligence, the different aspects of that. So there's certainly value in that. And they emphasize that, and I concur. But they're at the same time, I talk about some of the current trends and where it's heading, and maybe California is a little bit ahead of the curve from that. So the social work from California was there kind of as a cautionary tale, telling about some of the things you've seen there, where some of this overemphasis on emotional things sometimes, where you don't want to have some sort of stigma attached to emotional problems, and we don't want that. You want people to get identified, get help, but it's almost kind of thing where it's a point where it's almost fashionable for some of the kids to identify with some of these things. So it's more of a disruption than a help to education, is what they were saying there. So some things to keep in mind there. I don't think we actually got any particular resources for that one that I can share, but that was all the sessions, and all in all, and it far exceeded my expectations. I was very pleased with it. A lot of great opportunities to network with members there, going through a lot of the same stuff that we're looking at, trying to come up with other ideas to share with policy or whatever else. So it's a way just to see what's going on around the Commonwealth and get some, you know, benefit, just collegiality across the Commonwealth, and it's free advice, just, you know, networking with others. So any questions, comments, any of that?
May we see your brochure?
Sure.
Question?
Yeah, Mr. Rolls, where did you say that was held? You went in person?
It's just Glen Allen is the general area.
May I pass it on?
Sure.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I'm curious of all, it was, I guess, over 2 days.
It was all day Friday and then until like about 3 p.m. on Saturday.
What would you say would be the one, I don't know, well, one of the biggest things that you've learned that was different than maybe what you learned in the past through VSBA or other things? What would be the one thing that would have stood out that you learned? And wow, I didn't know that kind of thing. You mentioned many, but what would be one right at the top?
Yeah, hard to pick one. It's all over. So
Okay, 2.
I think the one I'm most excited about is kind of delving into that restoringamericaneducation.org and looking at their policy ideas there. But then, like I said, I'm very interested in just the legal and constitutional basis for what we're doing, is understanding that better. And I think that gave a good foundation to investigate that further.
Now, this is an organization that we could join individually. Is that right?
Well, it was hosted officially by the Noah Webster Educational Foundation, which they do all their stuff nonprofit for free. But it was in collaboration with another group, which is the School Board Member Alliance, which allows school members to join individually. It's not a whole board decision like VSBA is. And that's only $250 per person. When you think about VSBA, which you pay $9,000 for, it's almost $2,000 per board member. So this is a steal at that rate. And they have a lawyer that you can ask questions of too, if you to get a second legal question. Like I said, they'll have videos of all these presentations that you can go and watch. And then the networking opportunities, like I said, I was just talking to people there who had ideas about different policies that we had discussed and that I had wanted to see if we can customize ourselves, that they've already done it, and we could, so feel free just to steal it from us and use it if you want. That makes it a lot easier when we don't have to figure it all out ourselves.
When is their next session? Do you know? Is it once a year, twice a year?
I understand this is the second one they've done. And yeah, I imagine it's this time of year annually.
Any other questions? Dr. Boyd, anything? Good.
I think that's great. Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, thank you for sharing. I think that was excellent. I'm glad that you went. You'll be able to share some insight maybe with all of us. Excellent. Thank you for going. And I assume you're probably going to join individually?
Yeah. Yes, I very much like
you
that.
make a commitment now? No, I think I can see it as a real advantage. In fact, the more that we can get involved with other things, sometimes we get stuck into going in one direction with things, and VSBA does a good job. But it's nice to when you can get some other organizations to kind of make us have even a broader understanding of things. So,
Yeah, if I could add, I definitely do see it as a supplement for VSBA rather than a replacement at this point.
yeah, it's good. All right. So we'll go.
Do them.
Pardon?
Did you guys go already?
No, not yet. That's what I'm saying. I don't know whether to go. I was thinking of going all the way over here and then coming back to me at the end. So let's go to Jackson next. I didn't forget him, Dr. Boyd. Don't worry. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. So the spring anatomy and physiology class held a blood drive on February 15th. The drive scheduled 36 donors, 40% of which were first-time donors. And the drive exceeded their goal of 25 units by 4. They recorded 29. Prom is also coming up on April 21st at the Fredericksburg Expo from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. The theme this year is a masquerade ball, so that's pretty interesting. The Thursday before prom, there will be a safety assembly for the attendees for safe driving. Skills USA, they participated in the Virginia District 11 Architecture, Additive Manufacturing, and Engineering Technology and Design competitions. The following students won. For architecture, it was Catherine Banshee won second. For additive manufacturing, it was Ayla Zook and Eric Suwan. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. They won fourth. For engineering and technology, M. Caden Murphy, Rushi Patel, and Leonardo Rodriguez won first place. They also participated in the District 11 carpentry competition. Nathan Morris won second place. And the welding competitions were also held, and Bryce Bushkull won fifth place. Spirit Week is also this week, which is fun and energizing for the students. And the sub ordering form that Dr. Boyd helped establish before the winter break, there were some problems with it, and they had to take it down, go over the problem, streamline everything, and now it's back up. So students are able to pre-order their subs so they don't have to wait in the long sub lines, which is amazing. And then the form that I conceived last maybe like two to 4 weeks ago, that also there was a little bit of problems with that, went out to students, and it was also posted on Instagram to reach further out to maybe students that may not check their email occasionally. So I'm excited to hear back from my constituents. That is all from me.
Thank you. Kevin?
All right, thank you. So first I want to congratulate all of the participants of the Piedmont Regional Science Fair, which was on Saturday. We had 12 students place in the top 3 in each of their respective science categories, and we had 4 students have an honorable mention. Out of these students, we had 10 receive special awards for their projects, which were probably very amazing. So regardless of places and awards, I just think that to make it that far, serious dedication would have had to be made for these science projects. And I commend all of the students that put in that work for these projects. We are having a book fair at the middle school. I believe it's ending on Thursday. $1 donations for the All for Books program for donating to help book fairs throughout different communities get sponsors with the Scholastic program and things like that. So $1 donations are being made for the All for Books program. This is available to any of the visitors that come to the book fair, and there are small prizes for any student or any families that come along and decide to do that. So I thought this was a great way to reach out to the community. And so I'm very excited to see how much we are able to raise, and I will try my very hardest to have that for you next time. And regarding the coursework for the different classes at the middle school, I will admit it is getting a little bit more challenging. Just with quarter tests coming up, and 8th grade has a writing SOL coming up in late March. So more homework and study time at home is definitely having to be put in place by the students, but I think that the teachers are finding a way to help us handle this, and so I am very grateful for the hard work that they're putting in for us. That's what I have for today. Thank you.
That's the answer.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Gonzalez?
All right, thank you. So I know this is a busy week for a lot of folks before spring break. I know this week we have both STEAM night on Thursday, as well as, I believe, the budget presentation to the Board of Supervisors. So I'm looking forward to hopefully popping into STEAM night before also going to the budget meeting on Thursday. So I'll be sad I won't be able to go to all of STEAM night, but my kids are super excited. It's been a hot event on our calendar for the years that we've been in the school. So very much looking forward to that. And just to follow up on the call of the goose, Dr. Boyd. So there's a lot of goose calls in my house, courtesy of your little goose call that we got. And just this weekend, I went out for a little run, and lots of geese were flying over my house. I was listening to the honk, remembering your speech about the goose, and then I returned to the house, and my daughter was walking around calling geese. So So anyway, I just appreciate the message that you shared with that, as the rallying of the team is definitely a positive motivator, and I know we have a lot of that. So just kudos to all that make that happen on a daily basis for our students. So I don't have much other than that. I hope everyone has a safe spring break for those that are traveling anywhere, eating Philly cheesesteaks, doing whatever it is that you're doing. And to all of our educators and administrators and all of our staff at the schools, I hope you enjoy your week off. I know it's very much well-deserved. So be safe. See you when you return.
Talk.
Yes, I'd like to start off with a very, very special statement of gratitude to our school social workers. March is School Social Workers Month, and this week is specifically dedicated to school social workers. But social workers in general are usually seen in either comic relief or in tragic statements. But for the most part, every time you find a social worker, whether it be school or hospice or public social services or back in the hills delivering needed food, you're going to find a dedicated person who has spent a lot of time getting to that role in life and getting the skills that go along with that. And school social workers especially have roles that change maybe hour by hour sometimes. During my career as a school social worker, I spent time on folks' back porches or in the back of the house or beside the car or sometimes out on the playground or sort of wherever we needed to be, and got so much accomplished because as a social worker, I learned to listen. My husband says I've forgotten the skill, but I try to use it frequently. I would like to say that our school social workers have they bring so many talents to our school setting and to our community in general, that I really would like to commend all of them, and I'd like to let you know their names in case you haven't had a chance to visit with them. At Potomac Elementary, Jillian Maselli is our school social worker and is there regularly greeting children and working with families and meeting the need wherever that might be. Meg Campbell is at Seal, I'm sorry, I switched that around. Ms. Maselli is at Potomac, yes. And Meg Campbell is at Sealston. Betsy DeZula, who's been with us for a number of years, was and continues to be one of the most hardworking individuals I've ever known. I've always said that, you know, all the schools are fascinating and it's wonderful to spend time. But when I entered the middle school, I sort of got to twitching sometimes. Prior to Ms. DeZula, we had Alan McZuski, who sailed through it and loved those students. And it takes a very special person to feel at home in the middle school years. And Ms. DeZula does it as well as Mrs. McZuski does and did. And at the high school, what a job Diana Garland has. She is all things to all people, whether it's supporting a student through a home crisis or through a school crisis or helping solve difficulties in community relations or going to court or dealing with truancy or medical issues, and it goes on and on. All of these folks are there in the midst of the chaos and are helping to bring calmness by both listening and by helping find more contacts if needed. So I want to really say a special thank you to our school social workers. Ms. Jezierski, thank you. I knew that and she was on the other page. I knew I'd skipped over her. Yes, Mrs. Megorian, Jessica Megorian, is at Potomac Elementary and is an incredible lady and has worked in a number of sites that brings an incredible sense of experience to us. And if I got your schools wrong, I'm sorry. It was the printed page that did it. Ms. Campbell is at King George Elementary. Ms. Michelli is at Sealston Elementary, and Ms. Megorian is at Potomac. I would also like to add a note that I ran across earlier, and I've been trying to follow this. There is, through the Virginia Board of Education, there is something called the College Partnership Laboratory Schools Committee. Laboratory schools are school settings, K through 12, which are in and associated with a university or a college. And there are a number of universities in Virginia that already have laboratory schools set up and have been very popular. It is identified in our Virginia statutes and has very detailed definitions. But the current College Partnership Laboratory School Committee will hold a public meeting Wednesday, and it will be by Zoom as well as in person. I think it's something that I'm going to try to follow and watch because I think it might offer a number of resources for us. I do understand that University of Mary Washington and Germanna are working toward a school partnership laboratory, establishing a college laboratory in those two settings, moving especially toward technology, computer-based technology, and other areas of interest. I don't think it has gotten to the point of involving local school districts, but I think it's something that we certainly should follow, Dr. Boyd. And I think that is the gist of my conversation. Like Ms. Gonzalez, I wish everyone a relaxing spring break. Let's hope the weather stays pretty, although I think it's going to be cold. Just wear your earmuffs and gloves to the beach.
Thank you. I have a few things. One is that Dr. Boyd's family and mine and one of the Board of Supervisors family, we shared a meal last few days ago, and it was very good. And it was a small enough number that we could actually talk about things without making an official meeting, which was nice. And I'm going to try to have a couple of more dinners, inviting Ms. Hulk, you, and Ms. Gonzalez. Hopefully we can find the time. And then also other board members, Ms. Hoover and Mr. Rolls. Because ideally, I think the more that we can meet socially with the Board of Supervisors, I think the better will be for all of us in making decisions for the betterment of our county and the schools. I wish I could be here on Thursday, but I'm leaving, going overseas on early Thursday morning, and we'll be gone for about 8 days. And so I won't be here for STEM or for the budget. And this trip was planned about 8 months ago, so there wasn't anything I could do about it. And I'm sorry I won't be here. But on Wednesday evening, I'm excited about the meeting that will be at Smoot Library, special ed and the community. And then also I want to wish everyone a happy spring break, both staff and students and everyone else. And also be careful. It's kind of sad. It looks like it's going to finally get colder rather than warmer. Also, I wanted to say that it was very enlightening and kind of almost fun in a way, visiting with middle school teachers. As a couple of weeks ago, we visited with high school teachers during lunch, and this past week with middle school teachers during lunch, and we'll do the same with the elementary schools. And it's interesting getting their perspective on things. And boy, they were hitting us. I mean, it was like I couldn't type fast enough on my phone to put all the notes in. It was really something. And it wasn't all negative or positive. It was kind of a mix of everything. And it was good. I think, like Ms. Hoover said, they were just happy we were listening. That seemed to be the most common comment we had of all. Just thank you for listening. And so that was good. Also, thanks to the high school, the one track person who did the long jump, a little over 18 feet, which is wonderful. And then, of course, the wrestler for leading us in the pledge today. That was very nice. My wife and my daughter and I, the three of us, went to a basketball game last Friday. I'm sorry that we lost, but they played very well, but they played against a team that was, wow, they were definitely good. And it's kind of funny. You don't mind losing to a team when you really have given your best, and they did. Our team did fine, but that team had a lot of talent. Also, let me see, what else? I think that's all. Thankful for the Lions Club, for the winners. That was great seeing that, especially that one that's going to go on to the finals. That was wonderful. I look forward to meeting with you, Ms. Gonzalez, and we'll talk about the superintendent's evaluation. And again, thank you, Mr. Rolls. I almost called you Dr. Rolls, for attending this this conference. That was very enlightening, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that. Thank you for doing that. Do I have a motion for us to go into a closed session?
Move that we go into a closed session pursuant to State Code Section 2.2-3711.a.1. For the purpose of discussion, consideration of prospective candidates for employment, assignment of substitutes, stipend resignations, terminations, and retirements of employees of the school board.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're now
Aye.
in closed session. to return to open session and to certify.
I move that the King George County School Board return to open session and certify that pursuant to State Code 2.2-3712.d, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the public body.
Second and certify.
Certified. All right, now we need to, those that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the chair votes aye. So now we are in open session. All right, now the action from the closed session. Do we have a motion to approve the personnel as presented?
I move that we approve the personnel actions as presented.
Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are now adjourned.